Nobody puts Grumpy in the corner.
Hello, welcome to episode 124 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name's John Denton, with me as always, Chet Roivers.
Hello.
2 top 10 lists, 10 being the game we played the least this week, 1 being the game we played the most. That sentence doesn't really make sense, but I'm going to keep saying it for the rest of time. Chet, number 10.
Does that not make sense?
Well, there should be more words in it, but everyone knows the fucking deal.
Okay. All right, yeah, let's hope so. My number 10 is a game called Timberman on iOS.
Nice.
I played it on iPhone. You mentioned it last week. I couldn't resist having a look. And it's a very solid, very simple idea that is perfectly executed. And it is reminiscent of Flappy Bird and how freakishly unforgiving it is and how compelling. And it's very good. I enjoyed playing it for the 5 minutes that I played it. But it is weird. Games like this and like Flappy Bird do have a very peculiar, specific effects on people. And I do wonder, if the compulsion to keep playing it wasn't there, how would we even appraise it? Because that's the only goal of the game, really, is to keep you playing it.
Yeah.
Is that compulsion. If that wasn't there, how would we even be able to decide if it was a good thing?
That's a very good question. I don't know. They almost exist in their own niche, I guess. Niche is the wrong word, but they exist on their own, these types of games. You can't appraise them through traditional means, because in terms of systems, I don't know.
Yeah,
they're so simple.
Exactly, but if it didn't like one more go, then it would be a bad game or a failure, I guess. I suppose.
Probably.
But it's weird. But yeah, it's very compelling, very well made. I'm glad I'm not stuck in a school battle with someone, like you said. So have a look. But it is one of those instances where I just thought I'd recommend this to people because you will probably be compelled to play it probably about 20 times at least.
Yeah.
But if it didn't do that, I don't know. Have a look. It's well made. Timberman.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those situations where all I'd need is someone to text me a picture of their score that was higher than mine, and then I'd be in trouble. But I don't want that to happen. So please don't do that. Yeah. Okay, my number 10, also a phone game on Android, obviously. It's Iron Man 3. Just started downloading Marvel games for my little boy to play. This was surprisingly good. I've got a bunch on that I played that I'm not going to talk about this week, but this is one of the ones I will. Yeah, this is surprisingly good. It's made by Gameloft, and it's basically an Iron Man runner game, sort of into-the-screen runner, 3D graphics, but it's kind of reminiscent of Afterburner, and it's unfortunately bogged down in free-to-play mechanics. There's like 90 different currencies. It's just utterly confusing, to the point where I can even understand how to get to replay it, let alone a 3-year-old. But when you're actually in the game, it's good fun. You're tilting the phone to move Iron Man, who's just flying out into the screen, sort of between obstacles, and then enemies come on screen. You have to kind of swipe them with your finger or tap certain ones. Really nicely made, kind of really bright, arcadey visuals, and you just think, I really wish this was just a game, not get these amount of diamonds and gold bars to get this all that bollocks. That I understand why I'm not even going to repeat myself. We've said this stuff so many times, but in this particular case, I was like, damn, what a cool idea for an Iron Man game. They've never really nailed an Iron Man game before, but an Afterburner style Iron Man game, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, the most obvious word that you say about anything that's well made. I can't even think of it off the top of my head for some reason. I'm just blanking on it. A good, solid, well-made Iron Man game like Afterburner, it sounds like a cracker. And that's basically what this is, but it's just bogged down in so much bullshit that you can't really enjoy it. But I did enjoy it. Did enjoy it, but I'm not really capable of speaking right now, it seems. Unfortunately, Iron Man 3 stumped me.
Okay. It is a terrible, terrible shame that there's not always the option to just pay outright for those.
The words I was looking for were production values. Thank you very much, my own brain.
Okay. That's a real shame. I feel the same. I mean, we have said the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
I'd like there to be a situation where you could choose to pay up front, but you know that people would start inserting microtransactions into that version as well. So we're kind of stuck in this world now. I think
we are. We definitely are. And I know the arcade comparisons often made, like arcade games, but they were never confusing. They were like, you lose, put in the amount of money that you know that it costs to continue. That was the only business model of the arcade game. And it did inform the design. It made them harder and often things like that. But these are they're baffling. I don't want to be baffled into giving. It's like fruit machines. They kind of baffle you into making you put more money in and tempt you and baffle you in equal measure. And that's what this does. And I just don't want to be baffled. Especially, I mean, Iron Man 3 is ostensibly, it's not going to be adults playing that, really. It's going to be kids.
Very young kids, especially.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a shame. I might have a look at that.
It is actually quite a tidy game. It's not a classic, but it is a tidy game. Yeah.
Yeah. Back when they started making games on phones, Gameloft made some terrific stuff.
Like all the way back pre-smartphone days.
Yeah. Like a very early Sony Ericsson I had. I bought all of the Splinter Cell games on it, and they were like console standard compelling. Like I couldn't stop playing those games. Obviously, I'm sure it's not the same people at Gameloft now, but I haven't seen that logo for ages, so I'll have a look anyway. Probably.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, my number 9 is Sniper Elite 3 on the Xbox One. This is quite lame. I haven't really played this. I was supposed to play it with my friend because there's that really cool Overwatch mode where one of you snipes and one of you runs around fulfilling objectives on the ground. It never happened. Our paths never crossed, so we never got around to it. But I did want to have a look and see if they'd fixed matchmaking, because you mentioned that they were looking into it and it was completely and utterly broken. So I joined a game. Or rather, I asked the elderly man in charge of that switchboard to try and find you a game. And you sit there waiting for it to find you a game and nothing happens. So I waited for about a minute or a minute and a half, and then I clicked it again and it said, you are already in a game. Do you want to leave that game? And I was like, what? So they've made it even worse now. This doesn't even work. Anyway, a third attempt. It put me straight into a game of about 10 people.
Oh, really?
A game that was nearly full. And I was like, wow, maybe they have fixed it. Maybe, apart from the silly thing that happened before that. But I'm like, oh, okay, I'm playing it. I played it for about 10 minutes. I'm still quite unsure of its strengths as a competitive multiplayer game, because there's always the danger of opponents just running the clock out. So it was Distance King, the game mode where the distance is effectively points, so you have to try and get the most long distance shots. But I didn't see anybody. I sat there for a few minutes, I crept around, and all of those people were in that game and I couldn't see anything, and one team was slightly ahead of the other. So you just thought, I don't know, but I mean, people who play that game may think that part of the brilliance of it is that you know the onus is on, if you score a really good shot, the onus is on the other team to come and get you.
Yeah.
But if you're hiding in a corner, what are you gonna? You can just literally sit and wait for the game to run out. Anyway, I'm not sure about that because I didn't really play it. But yeah, Sniper Elite 3, sort of.
I know what you mean about that sort of stuff. I think that is just kind of part of the appeal of that. That's very different to most online shooters.
Yeah, see, I thought it was a failing of the game, but the more I think about it, I'm sure people might.
I remember the end of one game where, it was only 2-on-2. I think it was actually 2-on-3, and I was in the team of 2, where me and another guy really tensely waited out the clock for about 90 seconds while we could kind of see. The people knew where we were, but they couldn't quite get to us, and we were covering one angle and stuff. It was actually like really quite intense, but it felt very different. I wouldn't want to do that in any other game. Yeah, but it was very much his own thing. But I still kind of dug it, but that matchmaking system was just bizarre, utterly bizarre. It makes no sense.
It doesn't, but at least it seems like they have tinkered with it a little bit.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. What a contrast then for my number 9. It's Proteus on PlayStation Vita, one of this month's PS Plus games. A game I played and talked about before. I got it on PC pretty much the day it came out because it had been hyped. And I'm always up for a hyped indie game. You know, they never cost that much, and it's always interesting to see what people are getting excited about and what kind of artists are achieving. And a lot of people love this game. For me, it's just kind of a big load of nothing. Have you played it yet?
I downloaded it. I haven't touched it, but I'm very aware of what it is, and it sounds like I might have the same reaction to it.
It's basically walking around a kind of pretty, I guess you could call it a pretty picturesque island that's all done in that very ancient, I don't know exactly what you'd call it, maybe Atari 2600 style graphics. It reminds me of like educational games I used to play when I was very young at school on the BBC Micro on a big floppy disk. Yeah. But so you're walking around that basically in the first person, and it's nice, and there's like leaves and grass and things like that. And I guess, I mean, from my understanding of what people say is good about it, they kind of use this game as an escape from life stress, the city. I don't really know, and it's supposed to take you somewhere. And I firmly believe in the power of games to do that. But Proteus just does nothing for me. I mean, it does nothing. There's kind of a semi-object to the game as you play through, and it kind of moves from season to season. But I don't know what it is. I mean, I grew up on a very pretty island. I now live in a reasonably, like, I don't live in London or anything like that. You know, it's like you can kind of, where I live, you can walk around the corner and see trees and shit like that. But it's not like you can't do that in London either. There's parks and stuff there. So that side of it, it just kind of baffles me a little bit. It really does. And like I said, I definitely believe in the power of games, obviously, to be able to transport you somewhere and make you feel. And if people are genuinely feeling that, who am I to say otherwise? But this game, it certainly doesn't make me feel like that. It is, to me, basically a big load of nothing.
But what do you do? I mean, what are you supposed to look around?
You just walk around, and you kind of walk to the top of a hill, and then some stuff happens. And
what happens?
Well, I don't want to. I mean, it's a very short game.
Yeah. I see. Okay, all right.
So, I mean, some people kind of find it quite beguiling. I guess I don't really know. I've read people talking about it. I mean, the music's kind of cool. I mean, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. It's all very nice. But it feels like the type of thing that if you lived in the city of Blade Runner and then someone gave you this, but it was on a Strange Days machine, it would be a nice relief from the utter bleakness of your life. But as it is, in the summer especially, I mean, I've got a garden. I could just go in the garden. I mean, I'm not trying to be an idiot, but I was just sitting there, and I was sitting inside on my Vita, a sunny day, and I just turned around, and where I work in my office, the garden's just there, and I just thought, what the hell am I doing? I just go outside. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. You can chase a frog, and it's like, fuck, I don't... So what?
Are you supposed to chase the frog?
No, you can just kind of do what you want.
Do what you want. I will obviously play this before next week.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, but I have a feeling that I might have the same.
Yeah, I don't hate it or anything. I think it obviously sets out... It's working for people... and it is nice, but I don't know. It just not for me. Doesn't work for me.
The things that seem to affect people that in that way, the music tends to play a massive part in that. So I'm wondering if the music.
The music is. It's good, but I don't know. It'd have to be. I don't. I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know.
All right. Well, I'll crack some headphones on and play it next week.
Yeah.
And
so honestly, I'm fascinated to hear what you think, because I've only really heard people raving about it, and then just me being grumpy in the corner.
Okay. All right, I'll talk about it next week. Okay, my number 8, another contrast, is a game called Rooney on the Rampage.
Please be about Wayne Rooney.
It's about Wayne Rooney.
Is it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Amazing.
I didn't get time to play a game that was meant to be my number 1 this week, so I filled out my list with my number 1, and I didn't get a chance to play it. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But so earlier today, when I realised that, I just Googled offensive flash games, because obviously I played the penis wanker or whatever the hell that game was called last week. So I was looking for something of a similar... That might be quite amusing to talk about. But the top hit was Rooney on the Rampage. I clicked on it, I started it up, it's a flash game. In the intro, there's this little cutscene, and you get to relive that moment where Rooney stamped on Ronaldo, and he got carded, and then Ronaldo winked at the referee.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't that in a World Cup game or something like that?
Yeah, technically he stamped on someone else and then Ronaldo winked, but yeah, just... Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, same deal.
They in sort of very crude animated form. And then after that, you see Rooney sitting at home watching that other game where Zidane headbutted someone.
Oh, yeah.
And then it ding, and then the game starts. So the game is just Wayne Rooney running along a pitch, and players approach him, and you have to press space at the right moment, and then you headbutt them. That's it. It's like a runner almost, but you have to tap the space bar at the right time. It's not unamusing because the players, one after the other, they start giving way. Like the next thing you see is the ref holding the red card in his hand, headbutt him, and then there's that England manager, the Swedish guy, whatever.
Sven Goran Eriksson.
That's right. Yeah, you headbutt him, and then it's Rooney's wife. You headbutt her as But as colourful as it looks and as well as it runs, it runs very smoothly. It's mechanically lacking because you're meant to time your headbutts perfectly and you get a speed boost. But the window is about a second long, if that. So
Right.
I just kept failing. Just like, game over, game over. I was like, all I have to do is press spacebar at a pretty specific time, and that's it. So I kept failing for seemingly no real reason. It would be also slightly more compelling if it were a bit more fast paced, but it's not at all because there's lots of waiting. You headbutt someone and then he keeps running, and then you wait for another player to come across the street, headbutt him. It's a very slow game for something that's supposed to be like a score attack, button mash sort of thing. But I mean, it's not a great game. It's amusing for a few seconds. Rooney on the Rampage.
Yeah, it sounds good. I thought it was going to be about Rooney tearing through a brothel or something with grannies everywhere, but
no, but it's not unamusing. Although it's not a particularly satisfying game at all.
does he do the full over bending over Zidane headbutt?
No, I think it's just a little donk.
Disappointed,
It's
little donk.
Although at the end, when you've headbutted a certain number of people, this power meter comes and you have to do a flying headbutt into like a full team of guys. It's definitely. I mean, it's a shame that the game's not better because it would be easy to recommend, but it's worth a laugh at least.
Yeah.
You will at least crack a smile.
Rooney on the Rampage. Okay, my number eight is Fez, again on PlayStation Vita. Kind of weird. It's part of PlayStation Plus this month, but you can't just download it straight to the Vita. It still costs $7.99 on there. You have to download the PS3 version, and then you can download it on the Vita. I don't know what that's all about, but thanks to our man Matt Murray, who seems to always know everything, for telling me to do that. Yeah. I just thought, given that it's free and it's on a handheld now, maybe give another little chance to Fez. I always admired it as a kind of puzzly platform game. I just have no time in my life to be writing stuff down and all the other stuff that the game demands of you. But I still thought I'd give it another chance. I haven't played that much of it yet, but it is quite charming at the beginning. Everybody knows that, and the music and the art style and everything like that. I don't really have any criticism to offer about the game. I haven't played enough of it. It's always been more criticism of myself than the game. Everything that I've said about it in the past. But yeah, just kind of inclined to give it one more go. You know, when games get 10 out of 10 in places, you're always inclined. Well, I'm always inclined to give them more of a chance. It's obvious to say, really, but second, third, fourth chances compared to something else like a Proteus, for example, where you think you pretty much know that you're on the money. And travelling coming up next week, it's nice to have stuff to play on the Vita. It might grab me this time. I don't think it will. From the 25 minutes that I've played so far, I'd forgotten pretty much everything that happened to be on the first screen, so that was good, but still don't see it grabbing me again. And the fact is, like, I've watched Indie Game the movie twice now, and documentaries are always slightly skewed, but I really didn't. Phil Fish comes off terribly in that film, and he comes off terribly on social media, so just I can't see it. I just keep seeing his stupid sideburns every time that I play the game, and he seems like a repugnant individual. Obviously, I don't know him. He may be lovely, but he's probably not, is he? Clearly some sort of genius, but it's hard not to think about him being kind of obnoxious when I'm playing the game. But I'm fully open-minded to give it a proper another go, as people would say. And now it's on the handheld, I'm much more likely to actually be able to play it. Yeah.
I downloaded it earlier today on my PS4, so I also want to go and have a look because I really loved the first couple of hours, but then it turns into something. What Fez is not what it appears to be. It's this huge. It's like a gigantic, unfeasibly large jigsaw puzzle, and I just don't have the time or the brain power to play a game like that. So, but I really love the platforming stuff and switching around the dimensions. It's really good. So I'm kind of sad that game. What it appeared to promise is not what it is, but other people are thrilled that it's not that. So whatever. But I'll have a look as well before.
Seems to appeal to a more mathematical brain than you and I.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay, well, my number 7 is a game called Crimson Dragon on the Xbox One. This is the sort of Panzer Dragoon sort of sequel that came out last November, and it's now one of the free games with gold. I reviewed it when it came out, and unsurprisingly, it's still now what it was then, which is just a thrown together mess that just isn't fun to play. The flying, the shooting, it's all just kind of unresponsive and just kind of tepid. But they did promise back when they launched that they were going to eventually release a 3-player co-op mode. And because we can all get it for free, me and a couple of friends downloaded it. And yeah, the 3-player co-op mode's there. The problem is that this is a game that's on rails. So the 3-player co-op doesn't subvert or embellish anything about the game. It just feels like you're playing it alone, and occasionally you'll see other dragons flying around and bosses die faster. So the co-op is kind of as unimaginative and sort of poorly conceived as the rest of the game. We played a few levels, me and a couple of friends, and it was amazingly piss poor. We were getting a lot of laughs out of it because, as I said at the time, it's on rails, but you have to avoid obstacles at a moment's notice. The camera's swooping all over the place,
right?
So it would be like, and you're like, okay, I'm going to swing just past that rock. No, you had to move left, and you can barely move as well. The controls are kind of sticky, and you also never know when you're going forwards or backwards, like. You're flying and you look like you're going backwards. I'm like, do I have to turn here? Am I supposed to go and fight? Is this another test? Am I supposed to but then the camera whips around again. There are so many enemies at one point also that my friend Nick said that he was going to have a seizure because the game looked like it was buckling. The frame rate was dropping because there were just so many projectiles and so many bad guys on screen. And I didn't know which dragon I was. I didn't know where I was on the screen. Yeah, I do wonder what might have been because this was originally supposed to be an Xbox 360 game. With Kinect. Yeah. When they moved it to Xbox One, they forgot that they culled the Kinect support, which with the enhanced power of the new Kinect, it might have worked. It can't have been that much worse than this. It would definitely have been a more interesting failure than this is. It's free if you have an Xbox One. You may get some enjoyment out of the first few levels if you're in a really undemanding mood, but no thanks. I deleted it. Goodbye. Never again. Crimson Dragon. See you later.
I have it on my Xbox. I didn't get around to playing it. I even had it loaded up on the title screen today, but just didn't have time in the end to give it a go. I still will. I don't hold very high hopes, but...
There's so many fundamental things in a genre that's so simple. It's just an on-rail shooter. You have to work pretty hard to screw that up, but they do quite a job of it.
Yeah, I'm not hugely looking forward to it, but, free. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Where am I now? I am on number 7, which is Metrico on PlayStation Vita. Another one you downloaded and haven't had a chance to play?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so this was the one out of the PlayStation Plus Vita bunch this month that held the most interest. It looked the most intriguing. It just come out, so it's come straight onto PS Plus. It's a very curious game, a kind of 2D puzzle platformer, as so many of them are. This is kind of hard to explain. Basically, in order to move through these very sparse, kind of almost blank worlds where they're just filled up with a few shapes and then the kind of level moves around you. You have to figure out what command that you're doing with your sticks and buttons relates to the object in front of you. For example, moving left and right might make a tower shrink and rise, or jumping might make a platform go down. So you have to work out for each little section of every level basically how to navigate it by figuring out exactly what you need to do with the controls in your little man to make the level move around you so you can actually navigate it as a normal platformer. Interesting idea. Well put together. Certainly very stylish. The kind of music builds as you play it. Everything has a sound effect. I wouldn't say it's a music game in any way. It doesn't really work like that. It's not a rhythm game or anything like that. But certainly music is kind of intertwined with the design. Is it fun? Is it enjoyable? I'm not sure. I need to play more. I probably put in about 45 minutes, I'd say, done a few of the levels. It was a game I found myself saying, oh, well, this is clever, but it's just kind of a bit of a pain in the arse to play. It's not It's not a hugely engaging set of systems. It's more just a bunch of ideas that are well executed and certainly very stylish, but whether those ideas actually translate to something being fun, it kind of harks back to what you were saying before about the Timberman and Flappy Bird. You know, what is fun? What is compulsion? Why is this game good or bad? You know, ultimately, I had more fun playing both Flappy Bird and Timberman, as simplistic as they are. More fun playing those than what I've done so far with Metrico. So artistically, you couldn't even compare them. This is the type of thing that you'd want to hold up as the type of game that we talked about it before, that you have a Sony platform for, you know, stuff that comes out of left field that really is, really has its own aesthetic and real sense of design, I guess, for want of a better word. But
is this a Sony exclusive?
No, it's not. It's made by a studio whose name escapes me right now. So no, it's not a Sony game. But what I mean by that, you know, it's the type of game that exists on.
Course,
yeah, and that's not strictly true anymore because games like this appear on all sorts of places now. But good fit for the console, definitely stylish. It's got an 8 out of 10 on Eurogamer from a person that's obviously played the whole game, and which I haven't done. And I do intend to go back to it because it's definitely. Also, I played it when I was a little sleepy, so. Right now, not grabbing me. Not sure if it works as an enjoyable game, but gonna give it another go for sure. And regardless, a cracking freebie, really is.
Yeah.
A very, very good freebie. Yeah, can't complain about that. Something that cool because it is cool.
Yeah. When you were describing it, I thought that sounds fascinating at the same time as just there's so much potential for it to be irritating rather than.
It's almost exactly it. Those two adjectives, I'd say.
Okay, I can't wait to try it. I've got it, and we'll do so. Is it just PS Vita or is it cross-platform?
It's just PS Vita. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh, look, okay, because games with concepts like that have to be sort of immaculate. Just, I'm interested anyway. It sounds definitely interesting, at least. My number 6 is really not interesting. It's Strike Suit Zero Director's Cut on the Xbox One. It's another free games with gold, and one that I was quite excited to play. I got it as part of the only Humble Bundle I've ever paid for on my Mac via Steam, so I already had it, but I hadn't played it. But I downloaded it on Xbox One, and I played it. You haven't played this version, have you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I reviewed it on Xbox One. I played loads of it.
Hours
and hours, yeah.
Oh, I thought you played it on PC, maybe.
No. Yeah, I've done sort of 2/3 of the campaign, I'd say.
Okay, I mean, I haven't.
A bunch of the other stuff.
I haven't played anywhere near as much as that. Here's something I think is inarguable. It has an awful beginning.
Yes.
It's so grey. It's grey in colour. The tone is grey. It's just the game and me was just kind of weary. I was just like, I don't think that can be argued. I think it's an appalling way to start a game.
Yeah.
I know no less than 5 people who have downloaded this over the weekend, started it, and bailed within the first 15 minutes. They didn't even get to see the point when you start being able to turn into a mech.
Yeah.
And as with the dungeon crawlers that I mentioned last week in reference to Sacred 3, I really have a problem with a lack of humour in games like this. This is for a very particular audience. You know, there are alien species that have been created. There are long conversations that go on, and they're not free to be ignored. The game stops and forces you to engage with the story. You know, you're sort of crawling through space, nothing's happening, and you're listening to this. And I'm sorry, again, this is, as you said, you know, this is a situation where I think the problem might be me because I'm not really a massive sci-fi person.
No, but I think, I mean, I could completely agree with you on those points, and I think if you're going to do that and it be serious, it needs to be, and I've never really watched this program, but by all accounts, it needs to be like Battlestar Galactica, you know, at that level. If you're going to talk seriously about flying about in space, not what it is, which is, I hate harping on people's writing. It's kind of a shitty thing to do, but I mean, it's just boring, isn't it?
It is.
Really
I mean,
it's boring.
They'd gone to the trouble of creating this universe, but I was, the dialogue was bone dry and so deadly serious. But the game is, I haven't really let it get properly started yet. I got to the point where you transform into a mech, which makes the combat more interesting. Yeah. The game's competent and surprisingly unexciting. At least for the first hour or so that I've played. I will play more. Will I play more of it? I'm really underwhelmed at this point. It seems, it really. I mean, it got off on a really bad foot, and I think it's better once you now have the. I thought it was going to be like a modern version of those terrific X-Wing games on the N64 and the GameCube. Does it become anything like that?
I mean, like the Rogue Squadron games?
Yeah.
It gets to being a bit more like that. It's still quite dry. The way you flick between being a spaceship and a mech is cool. The mech behaves like the things that look exactly like it from Zone of the Enders. It's kind of fast. You can dash like a Titanfall dash. The game picks up, and I found myself settling into a very comfortable 6 out of 10 place when I was playing. I was like, this is fine. I'm enjoying it. I could do without any of the dialogue. I've turned my brain off from this story. But the more I played it, the more I I enjoyed it. I thought it was absolutely fine. But not my cup of tea in the first place, and not enough to convince me to. I wouldn't recommend it to most people.
Yeah. Well, I will try and sort of muster up the enthusiasm to give it another chance. But it's also, the other thing is that it's clearly a PC game. So there were button commands for things that a console game would just automatically do for you. Like there was some sort of, I think there was you had to lock. You move your reticule over it, but you had to lock on. You had to press a button. And I was like, why? What? I can't just fire rockets at it. I have to lock on with this other button. That seems like the kind of thing that would work on a PC with all those different keys and commands and stuff. But on a console, it just felt like a completely pointless gameplay system on top. But I maybe give it another try. I don't want to. I haven't really seen it going at full pelt yet. So
I mean, full pelt would not be a descriptive term I use for Strike Suit Zero. Yeah, sort of.
Maybe not.
A meandering stroll in space, popping some bullets at some baddies. I didn't have a problem with the button thing, but
I didn't have a problem with it. I just thought it's another thing that made me think this is so clearly a PC game, and it doesn't look particularly great either.
No.
I think it was made on quite a low budget.
Yeah, it was,
which is not a bad thing, but I don't know. I needed it to win me over, and it basically couldn't do.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll play it again, like everything else on this list that I've mentioned.
Yeah.
Apart from Crimson Dragon, which will never get played again.
Okay, good freebie, I'd say. Personally,
I mean,
I have played a fair bit, but I shan't be playing it again. Okay, my number 6 is a game called Marvel Avengers Alliance on Android. I'm absolutely sure it's also on the iPhone. So, like I said, downloaded a bunch of Marvel games to see which ones work. Downloaded like Marvel Puzzle Quest, which is fine, and some other shit. Can't even remember what it is now. But this was the pick of the bunch, but for a very specific reason, in that it was the only one that a 3-year-old boy could feasibly play. It's basically a very, very simple turn-based strategy game using Avengers characters. Free to play, has a lot of free to play trappings, but they're nowhere near as egregious as a game like Iron Man 3. They're kind of in there. It has like an energy system and all that sort of stuff, stamina, but there was never a point where it was really getting in the way of the game. And all you do is pick like a battle from a map, and then you have your crew of Avengers, and you collect more as you go through. That's kind of the point of the game, is to keep collecting more and more Avengers. But you start off with, you make yourself man or woman, like a fucking generic nobody. And then Iron Man was on a team, and Iron Man's his favourite. So it worked out. And all you have to do is just press your attack down the bottom and then press your enemy. And early on in the game, the first couple of hours, you basically almost can't lose. So the perfect fit for a 3-year-old. Press this, press that, and then Iron Man does pew with his hands, and you beat the baddies. So he absolutely loves it. It's fine. I'd say the turn-based strategy stuff is probably even simpler than what exists in South Park: The Stick of Truth. Yeah. But there's another side to the game where you can kind of send other Avengers off on missions for XP. Like in Assassin's Creed, where you can send assassins out or boats out in Assassin's Creed 4. Yeah. So it has that kind of wrinkle to it. I mean, really, am I recommending this game? Not really, but probably for young kids. It doesn't have the aesthetic of something for young kids. It's kind of dark and grimy, really, and it's just simple enough that I found with my boy, who's 3 in a month, he could just sit there, like I said, press missiles, press the baddie, chew. Awesome. He was absolutely loving it. It just bugs me every second to play it. So yeah, in that respect, a success.
It sounds quite complicated for a 3-year-old.
Well, I was doing the stuff, getting onto the, picking the level.
Oh, okay.
All that sort of stuff. He'd be baffled by it. He was pressing the wrong things. Although they're surprisingly adept at navigating touchscreens, because they're like all the kiddies his age, because they grow up with iPads from the second that they can basically open their eyes and move their hands. But yeah, the game itself, it doesn't. Certainly in the early stages, you almost can't do anything other than the attacks, if that makes any sense. You've got like everything else is locked off because you're not at the right level. You can press your character, but it just gives you a stat screen, and you can't go back or anything like that. So eventually, you're just going to press the right thing, and he works it out pretty quickly. And like I said, there was almost no way to lose. Your attacks are way more powerful than the baddies at the beginning. So yeah, but fine. Would I recommend it to most listeners? Probably not.
Okay. Was it paid?
Nah. No, like I said, it's free to play, but it was nowhere near as egregious as Iron Man 3. There are like different currencies and things, but it wasn't.
Of course.
Yeah, it wasn't like it wasn't in your face. Buy this, do this, pay this, get this currency, and it didn't seem to get in the way of actually playing the game at all.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm not going to play that.
No, don't. But yeah, it just is what it is, isn't it?
True that. Okay, my number 5 is Plants vs Zombies: Garden Warfare.
Oh, you went back to it.
I play it all the time.
I do.
I just don't bring it up. I mean, I play it all the time because my girlfriend plays it all the time.
That's right.
Often when I'm working, she's playing it next to me, so the noises that those plants make are forever ingrained in my brain. But yeah, we played it a little bit together in the week, quite a bit actually, and it still stands up really well. There has been a fairly constant stream of really high quality DLC released for it, and all of it has been free. So there's now this great new map called Jewel Junction, I think it was called, which has this train that runs through the middle of it. It's like a Battlefield level. And there's been new gameplay modes and unlocks and sort of new toys to play with. So it's genuinely what it always has been. It's a viable alternative to Battlefield, and the post-launch support has been enviable. Really. However, like you pointed out, we hadn't realised it, but they have inserted microtransactions into the game now. They're mostly sort of involved buying cosmetic things. However, you can buy cards to level up faster or accumulate those potted weapons faster. I mean, those things are better used in the Horde game type rather than the competitive side, but they are useful in both. So the microtransactions are inessential and they're not in your face, and you don't have to grind very much to earn anything that you want, but they shouldn't be there, really. It's a shame that in a paid game we just, these should not be in a game that you've already fought. It was a budget game, it's 30 quid rather than 40, but still not really much of an excuse to have.
Yeah, it's ugly. It's always ugly.
Yeah, but the game is still really remarkably good. Remarkably good.
Yeah, it was a little cracker, that one. No doubt.
Yeah.
A little cracker. All right, then. Good old game, that.
Yeah.
Talking of good old games, my number 5 is Expendabros. Did you see this?
Wasn't it a time with Broforce?
Time with Broforce. It is Broforce, but with the characters from the Expendables 3, but done as the Bros. So
they've reskinned the whole game?
They've barely even done that. It is the game. There's a couple of added little things that appear in the levels, like there's some spinning swords and stuff that I've not seen in normal Broforce, and they've reskinned the characters to look like and be the characters from Expendables 3. Obviously, some of them are already in Broforce, so they're basically the same. And every character in Expendabros is actually... It has the same attacks as a character from Broforce, so there's not really a lot different. But it's like sort of 4 or 5 level, almost demo of Broforce, but done with the Expendables characters. You've got Sly, you've got Arnie, you've got Dolph, you've got Statham, I think Randy Couture, it might be someone else, and Wesley Snipes and Terry Crews, all done in their bro equivalent of their names in the film, none of which I can remember. And Broforce is a really, really good game. So this is a really, really good game. For some reason, it runs like shit, though, on PC. Broforce doesn't. But this version, it has loads of screen tearing and juddering, which for a game that looks like it could run on a Game Boy is a bit weird. I changed this. I changed all the resolution and all that sort of stuff, and went online, and it's just everybody's having the same problem. So I mean, Broforce itself is still in alpha, so it's kind of an unusual thing for a game that's not even out yet to have a tie-in game made out of it. I mean, it's got to be first kind, but very cool of whoever the hell makes Expendables to think of this as a viable tie-in, and a brilliant tie-in. It's got to be one of the best movie tie-ins ever, because Broforce is the nuts. And especially,
is it actually, it's all official then, I take it?
Yeah, it's completely official.
Okay.
And
all right.
compared to the Expendables 2, which I never played myself, but is the subject of one of the more hilarious rants from yourself in Chet and John History. This is certainly the game that, I was going to say the Expendables movies deserve, but they probably don't really deserve much. But the concept of the Expendables movies, which basically is Broforce anyway, it's just a natural fit. It's good. It's free. I don't think it's good. I think it disappears after a little while. So probably when the film's been and gone.
So it's free if you already have Broforce?
No, it's just free.
It's for anybody?
Yeah, it's free on Steam, yeah, anybody.
But it's not the whole game?
No, it's like 5 new levels of Broforce action. Sorry.
I thought they toyed with the beginning of Broforce.
No, sorry, it's 5 new Broforce levels with a couple of new little twists that aren't currently in the game. Like there are some spinning swords that you can knock down and they smash through people, and there's one other thing that I've forgotten. But it's just Broforce, just levels from Broforce, shooting the baddies, getting the guys from the cage, adding to your team, adding to your roster. Violent, funny, good stuff. Excellent stuff. I mean, the Broforce is great.
Yeah, I only played it briefly, but I did like what I played very much.
Yeah,
I completely forgot when I came down to your gaff. I should have downloaded Expendables 2, and we should have all played it together just to see how amazing it is. Have you seen the Expendables 3 poster?
Yes, I have, but I don't recall much of it.
Oh no, it's just weird because it's just that Schwarzenegger, not Bruce Willis, Stallone, Jason Statham, Jet Li, but action hero Fraser in the middle.
He's Fraser.
Fraser, what's his name?
Kelsey Grammer.
Kenny G. Kelsey Grammer, yeah, it comes up
Kenny
in the trailer. So Grammer, it's like what? Well, why is that happening? Fraser in the middle of it.
Joe Bob.
Yeah, except that's. I just thought that's very odd. Him in the middle of that poster with Ronda Rousey and all those MMA people. I was like, what? All right.
That's bloody weird. Maybe he's a tough bastard. He's quite big.
Is he?
He's big. Yeah, he's quite tall, isn't he? I don't know. All actors, you think they're tall, but they're all about 5'1".
That's true.
I saw a video with small tangent. I was watching some wrestling thing, and Seth Green was on the wrestling once. And you look at Seth Green, you know he's not a big guy, but he just kind of fits in with other actors. Like I remember him from Entourage. In fact, I've hated him ever since that program, even though I'm sure he's nice in real life. But then you see him next to the wrestlers, and he looked like a 7-year-old child. You've never seen anyone look so small. And it's just amazing that all these tiny little people are running around being Hollywood actors. Bizarre. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right. Well, my number 4 is a game called Motocross Madness on the Xbox 360.
Oh, this was the gold one. Yeah, I forgot about this.
Another freebie, another Games with Gold freebie on 360. This initially bypassed me completely when it came out. It's a Microsoft published exclusive, and it's a remake of an old PC game that I'd never heard of. Motocross Madness.
Sounds like 1,000 games. So,
it does. Yeah. It does. Yeah. This is very simplistic, but it's not unenjoyable at all. I'd say if it owes a debt to anything, it's probably Mario Kart.
Okay.
Because you're racing on these dirt bikes. There's a drift system and a very, very elementary trick system, which just involves one button at first. As the game progresses, you can sort of embellish the trick system. If you play it for long enough, it just resembles the Tony Hawk. Up, down, button, left, right, button. It's very, very, very reminiscent of the Tony Hawk system. And the way you earn XP throughout the game is really nice because it rewards you regardless of if you're playing online or off. So you can basically grind wherever you like, and you can build up your bike and all of the tricks you can do. I suppose the only thing wrong with it is that the progression through the campaign is really just as rote as hell. You do a race, you do a rival race, you do a trick session, you do a race, you do a rival race. It's just the format of every racing game ever. It's not bad. It's just like steadfastly formulaic. It's just, I've done this so many times, I can't really be asked to do it again. However, there are these exploration modes that are thrown in where they kind of adapt all of the tracks in the game, so everything's in one big world, and then they put little puzzle structures in there, ramps and jumps, and you have to go and get collectibles, a certain number in each area, and it's fully open, so you can drive between environments in exploration mode, which is really cool. I mean, you can just sort of I think they did something very similar in the MX versus ATV games. I think Reflex had something like this where you were just the whole game was essentially in this environment. You could just drive through it. So that's nice, and there's the collectibles that you have to get that are hidden in really crafty places. So it's fun. I mean, the online works too. People are playing it at the moment, obviously because it's a new free download. But the online was pretty fine. Do some races. It's not a bad freebie. It's simple. It's pretty undemanding. It uses avatars and stuff, so it's aimed at pretty young kids primarily. But it's well made, solid. I thought it was pretty good. Another decent freebie.
Yeah, that does sound all right, actually. I should download that, really. Need to hook up the old 360, but yeah, that sounds fun.
It is. It was like just. It was the bare minimum of goodness.
Yeah.
It was not. It was not mediocre. It was. I'd say it was good, but anything less than what it delivered, it would be not good. I don't even know if that makes any sense. But yeah, it was. It was definitely good enough to be good, and that's it.
I think I'm with you.
Okay.
All right then. My number 4 is a game called Scram Kitty and his buddy on rails on Wii U. Made a mistake. Misread a tweet that said this game was going to be half price from the day we're recording now, Thursday. I thought it said it was going to be half price this week, so assumed that the price that it was on the eShop was half of what it should have been. Bought it. Never mind. Doesn't matter. I live and learn. This is a game that people have raved about. It's got high review scores. Official Nintendo 90%. I think Edge 8 out of 10. I think maybe Eurogamer 8 out of 10, and was like it's basically sort of being touted as one of the essential games on the Wii U eShop. So yeah, I downloaded it and took a look, and it's a curious game. You play as a kind of blue-haired space dude. So it doesn't really matter who you play as, some guy, and he can only move on the rails which go around the edge of the levels and also make up. Everything's viewed from the top, and they kind of make up objects throughout the levels, and that's how you move around. You stick to the edge, and then you can jump and attach yourself onto another rail and keep moving like that. There's a second jump where you press jump again in midair, and it kind of bounces you back from where you were, and you explode up in a ball of flames. And the whole idea is it's very, very difficult to do at first, but there's it's basically a navigation system where you kind of use this flinging yourself around the level to get to different parts. I say it's very hard because this game is extraordinarily difficult, extraordinarily hard. The first level is basically move from left to right, go up a thing, go down a thing, get to the end. So you think, okay, it's easing you in. Second level, shoot some enemies while you're doing that. Third level, maybe jump over a gap, something like that. Fourth level, fuck you, try this. And from there, it's just an assault. The game's just an absolute fucking assault. It's excruciatingly difficult. Basically, the idea is that you have to get 4 cats that are in each level. There's one that's just at the end of the level, wherever that may be, so you kind of navigate the level, which is tricky enough. But even from the 4th level onwards, it requires you to get a lot more of these cats to progress. It's like, imagine a star system in most games, or whatever or whatever currency it happens to be in this. It's cats. So you've got one cat which will be floating somewhere in the level, and you get to it, and then it disappears and buggers off, and you've got a short amount of time to go and get it again. So you're like navigating the world, getting past enemies, jumping over spikes. You touch it again, it disappears again. Does that about 4 times. Appallingly difficult to go and get even from the 5th level onwards. You've got a kind of hidden cat that only appears under certain circumstances, and there's like a hidden bad guy that you get going through certain circumstances as well, where you have to kill them, and it becomes the bad guys are mice. This particular bad guy then becomes a mouse commander. I feel myself wrapping myself up in nonsense here as I talk about it. But, he's basically an incredibly difficult enemy. And you can only shoot in the direction you're facing. So imagine you're moving up around curved corners and things like that. So it's very difficult to line up exactly how you're going to shoot these bad guys, and they're hammering you the whole time. So, yeah, every single thing about this game is it's just amazingly difficult. I mean, it genuinely revels in stitching you up. I talked about a game that did that last week on Wii U as well, in Donkey Kong. This is harder than that. From I think the 6th level of the game, and there are 70 levels in this game. The 6th level, you have to negotiate a very, very difficult spike trap to get towards the end of the level. The second you get there, you land, and if you happen to have been holding the stick for a nanosecond too long, it will put you on like a conveyor belt part of the rail that you can't stop and send you back to the beginning of the level. So obviously, I would say every single person that manages to finally negotiate that spike trap, which took me about 10 goes anyway, will get set back to the beginning of the level. This is on the 6th level of the game. I can't fault the design. It's amazingly well designed. It's done by Dako, who did something in the God of Fury or something like that on the Vita. I can't remember, Cloud God, or a game I never played, and Rotating Octopus Character. Have you heard of those games?
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, they're sort of well celebrated indie games, and this is well celebrated as well. Like I said, I can't fault the design. The mechanic of flinging yourself around the level using the double jump is it's an amazing mechanic. It really doesn't feel like anything else, and the learning curve and the skill ceiling to it is really quite something. But I kind of feel like a game like this needs to earn the right to be this hard. You're asking a lot to be this difficult this early on. You're asking me to give up my time, give up my energy, put my life on hold basically to struggle through your game. And I respect that as the choice of the creators to do that, but I don't feel perhaps that this game earns the right to be that hard straight away. It asks a lot from the player, and it doesn't offer a huge amount back apart from the simple the relief and kind of euphoria of beating the challenge that's laid out in front of you. Now, for some people with different lives, different circumstances, different choices, different motives, this will be brilliant. They want that, and I'm certainly not one to shirk a challenge when I feel like a game has earned it. Super Meat Boy, I think, earns it with its instant restart. It's hard as piss, but you can keep battling, and you kind of the mechanics are so familiar anyway, and the game is so likable that I feel like it earns that challenge quite well. And I'm not a Dark Souls nut, but that game does so much more than just present a challenge. It offers this mood and this sense of adventure. And I'll always compare it to the kids' TV show Nightmare because it really reminds me of that, and that was always my favourite TV show. This is just, I hate the style of it, to be honest. I like the way it looks. It looks like a classic SNES game, but I don't get the cat thing. I don't know about you, the whole fucking cat, internet, kitties, right. Look at Reddit cats. I don't know. I don't know if it's just people that need to have children. I don't get it. I like cats. We had cats growing up. They're cool. They come and sit on you. Sometimes they tell you to fuck off, but I don't get it. So that kind of element of the game is completely lost on me. And this big cat keeps appearing on screen and talking a load of bollocks at you, and it's just I could do without any of that, to be honest. I feel like I'm ranting negatively about what is a very, very well designed game now. But I just politely, after about 10 levels, said, do you know what, I'm tapping out from this. I admire it. I think it's well made. I think it's unique. But what am I doing? I can't dedicate my life to this spinning around cat game. I just can't.
Of all the many, many things that I've read, relentlessly positive things about this game, I've never heard anyone discuss how difficult it was.
Every review I've read, it discusses how hard it is.
Really?
Yeah. It's a bitch, which is not the right word because that's a female dog, not a cat. But it really is. It's proper hard.
I haven't heard. When you said to me earlier, I said, "Shall I get it?" Because it's £4. I'm probably going to buy it anyway because it's £4.
Yeah.
I might as well. But I remember you saying in the week how hard it was.
I think you like it a lot. And there's a lot to admire. A lot of the people have compared it to a treasure game, and I can certainly see the comparison. I'm no treasure game expert by any stretch, but I can certainly see that comparison as clearly an influence. But, really, Edge Review, Eurogame Review, they all say how unbelievably hard it is. I think it might be one of those games that becomes slightly less hard as you really get to grips with it. So, it's a really steep learning curve at first, and then it plateaus. I get the impression. But then again, people were telling me, wait till you get to this level. And I was just like, will I wait till I get to that level, or will I just not? And, I decided that after a good few hours playing it, and I still have the compulsion to go back, but what for? What for?
People were saying, wait till you get to that level. What's that?
Someone said, wait till you get to the level with this on it, and if you think it's hard now.
Oh, right.
And I was just like, I don't know. In my 30s, I've got stuff to do.
Yeah, see, that is the thing with hard games. It's just you just the older you get, I've become less and less tolerant of them. As even they can be brilliantly designed, but just be what you are. Don't fucking make.
Yeah, this is a game like knocking on someone's door and open it and just put a big fucking Hulk Hogan boot straight in your face straight away. So it depends if that's what you want to do.
Well, I'll let you know next week maybe. And I will. It's a shame you didn't get it for cheap. But
I'm a donut. But at least I'm supporting a local developer or whatever. I don't know. But I don't want to come across as I'm being really negative about this game. It's more about me. I think it's a very, very well designed and admirable game. Just because I don't really dig the whole kitty thing, it's nothing. That doesn't matter. I think it's a very good game, but it's just, I don't know if it earns the right to be as hard as it is. That's my kind of final comment on that one.
Okay. Okay, all right. Well, my number 3 is a game called Fistful of Frags on the Macintosh. I played it on my Mac. It's originally a PC game, I assume. Have you heard of it?
No.
Fistful of Frags. Yeah, okay. I'll briefly explain the situation. Basically, I had to write an article for a publication about Bloodborne. Sorry, not Bloodborne. Battleborn.
Yeah.
Fuck, I hope I didn't write probably there's loads
Battleborn is the Gearbox one, right?
The Gearbox game that almost nobody knows almost nothing about. So hopefully people won't read the magazine next month talking about Bloodborne, because I'm starting to worry that I kept calling it Bloodborne. Anyway, Battleborn, the Gearbox game. Not many people know much about it. It's a very bright and colourful FPS. There's been a trailer release, but anyone who knows anything about it knows that it owes a debt to the MOBA genre. And although Gearbox are very reluctant to they don't want it to be labelled that way. There's clearly systems from the MOBA genre, and I was just as I was writing this, I thought, enough's enough. I don't know anything about this genre. I'm a complete ignoramus. So I turned on Steam on my Mac and to go looking for Dota 2 because it's a free download, and I thought I'd have a go. I absolutely love Steam. I never use it. I only sort of downloaded it for the first time in the last 8 months ago or so. So it's completely new to me. So and I'm also on a Mac, so I assume it's probably slightly downscaled. But every time I boot it up, I'm like, I love it because it's like, I don't know. It feels like more of a direct connection to the creators. It feels like it's its own world. You don't need anything else. There's forums there. There's all sorts of this other stuff. It's just everything you need. It's not like console gaming. It's more like XBlig, where you feel like there's no external forces influencing you. I mean, there is, but it feels like
I know what you mean.
there. Yeah. But anyway, I started downloading Dota 2, which I expected to be my number 1, and I never got around to playing because I didn't have enough time. But so I'll talk about that next week, perhaps. But I saw loads of games, and I was just looking through loads of stuff that was free, and I saw, I read loads of like spiel paragraphs that were clearly non-PR approved. So again, it felt like I was sort of communicating with the creators. I just wanted to play them all. I was like, why is life so short? I want to enter all of these worlds, and I was just reading all this stuff, games that I probably would hate, but I want to just download them and play them. But anyway, the first one I downloaded was Fistful of Frags, because I had no idea what it was. And it's an arena shooter that reminded me of when I used to play Unreal Tournament on dial-up before the millennium on my old knackered old G4 Macintosh, because it's just so simple. It's kind of like a Wild West shooter. There's no frills at all. You're just running around shooting other people, and it just made me feel oddly melancholic. And I just kind of wanted to talk to the people I was playing with, because it was a full game of people running around, these cowboys shooting at each other. I just wanted to say, how the hell did we end up playing this game on a Macintosh in 2014? What's your story? I wanted to just speak to the people I was playing with, which is an impulse I've never had, because normally when I'm playing like on Xbox, I don't really want to talk to anybody. The game was fun. It's not slick in the slightest. It's not especially well made. I think, actually, no, I don't think there is microtransactions. I think it's just a free game. You just you have a shootout on a canal boat. You shoot each other, and there's a graveyard level, and you shoot each other. I mean, it's so basic. I'm not sure how or why it's free. I'm glad it is, but I don't know how. I mean, I assume it was just made by amateurs, maybe. It's a proper throwback that I enjoyed immensely, to be honest. I was just like, wow, this is like going back in time. I have to admit, I should have said this at the top. I was fucking hammered when I played this. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was just fucking drunk, and so me having all of these emotions, like, oh, this is like gaming back in the day. Probably would have. I might have sounded more positive about the game just now than it perhaps deserved, but. If you have a Macintosh and you want to shoot, no, why would you want to play a game that's as backwards as this? I mean, it's really old school. I mean, you are just running around and shooting people. There's nothing. I don't think there was any HUD, but I enjoyed it. I was drunk.
I'll never play that.
No, I don't. I mean, I'll play it again probably.
Fistful of Frags. Okay. My number 3 then is the Swapper on the PlayStation 4. After you spoke about it last week, I had a chance to play the PlayStation version, having played a small amount of the PC version and not really getting on with it. And I have to say my opinion has completely changed on the game. Straight away, I felt it felt much nicer. The DualShock 4 really is a nice controller, and the game just felt way nicer playing it like that than on a mouse and keyboard, which is how I've been playing it before. I think you did a great job of explaining the mechanics last week, but I'll give it a brief overview if people didn't listen. You are a little chap, a kind of astronaut chap that appears in a space station. He quickly finds this device that allows him to create 4 clones of himself, and then you can use those clones to navigate puzzles. A lot of them are kind of pressure switch puzzles in order to progress through the space station. And there's a kind of storytelling stuff going on in the background. There are memory terminals, as they're called in the game, where you can go up and very short little bursts of texts kind of give this curious overview of what's going on, and the game slowly builds up this very interesting and intriguing story as you're playing. But I love all that. I love the music, I love the mood, I love the style of it, I love the graphics. But the puzzles themselves, they really are fantastic. And it kind of, as I was playing, I was like, why didn't I get on with this first time? It's just like, just forget about it. Who knows? It might have been tired, might have been the wrong time with it. Who knows? Doesn't matter. The puzzles themselves. What I loved about them, I played plenty of games that require you to kind of do switch puzzles and things to get through. And most of the time, I tend to find them tedious. Like, I'm scratching my brain for no reason. Why? Okay, I did it. Well, I don't really feel like I achieved anything. But in the Swapper, it's a brilliant combination of that type of very logic, thinking about how you use this device in extremely logical ways to navigate these extremely well designed puzzles. But there's also elements of an action game in there, in the same way that Portal occasionally makes you do things that would be almost feats of skill or timing. There is the ability to completely slow the game down in a Swapper. You can say there might be a puzzle where your little clone has to drop off a cliff, and then you have to zap. You can zap to take control of your clone using a different button. You can slow the game down to a crawl to be able to do this, but you have to have thought about doing this in the first place. And it occasionally feels like, even though it's not huge amounts of skill involved, it feels like you're also combining your own skill and dexterity with your brain and coming up with these brilliant, they feel almost freeform, but they've been designed meticulously, solutions to these puzzles. And the more I played, the cleverer it seems to get, and the moodier and the kind of more intriguing is definitely the word. Just a real stormer of a game, and highly recommended. Another great job by Curve Studios, who seem to make about one game a week at the moment, but they're absolutely relentless in their port jobs and their own stuff. But what a change of heart. And it's cross-buy as well, so I just put it on Vita. You can upload your save off PS4 and download it on Vita, a piece of piss to do. And just been playing again on Vita. It doesn't look as nice, obviously a lot murkier, but still does the job perfectly well. And what a great game to have on a handheld device.
Yeah. I'll probably unfortunately, that's the one game I haven't had a chance to play in the last week, which is really annoying because it was at the top of my list to go back to. But I played it with my girlfriend. Our paths didn't cross, and my number one took over. But I'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, I will hopefully have finished it by next week, so I'll talk about it more then. But it is just I was floored by it completely, and unless it sort of stumbles in the final few hours, I have a feeling it's going to be. I can't wait to play more of it. Are you going to stick with it on the Vita now?
Well, yeah, probably. But then I might just fire my save up to the cloud and continue on PS4 like some sort of fucking futuristic hero.
I'll probably stick on PlayStation 4, but then I don't play it alone, so it's different for me. But all signs are pointing to it to being absolutely another fantastic little indie game on PS4.
I can see this being the one that like I said, I'm travelling next week, going to Gamescom, so this will be. I could see this being my main travel companion.
That'd be a good one.
No doubt.
Okay, my number 2 is a game called Deemo on iOS. Deemo. This is a very strange game that my girlfriend recommended because I think it's the app of the week. I think it still is Apple's app of the week. So it's normally about £2, but it's free at the moment.
Right.
And it is also available on Android, but obviously it's not currently free. It's a very odd rhythm action game that's kind of similar to Smule Piano, which, but the interface is far clearer, and success and failure is very easy to gauge. I didn't find that with Smule Piano. One of the things that really bothered me about that game was that I couldn't really work out A, where my fingers were supposed to go, and B, when I was succeeding and when I was failing.
Yeah.
It has that sort of Guitar Hero / Rock Band style sort of note corridor. So notes are small in the background and larger when they reach the command bar at the bottom. So it's basically like the Star Wars credits in reverse.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what that fucking looks like. The music is a really, really bizarre combination of out-and-out classical music and sort of Japanese pop, but its primal sort of emphasis is on classical music. There's this all of the artwork's strangely unsettling, and the tone of the game is not unsettling at all, but the art is sort of gothic and bleak, and there's this story in between songs about this little stick man who befriends this little girl, and this sort of very slight story plays out between songs. But yeah, I mean, that's whatever. It's a solidly great rhythm action game with the added bonus that perhaps won't be a bonus for some people, of feeling like a game that was made by people who either don't play many games or who have other interests that far outweigh any enthusiasm they may have for video games, because as good and as fine-tuned as it is as a game, it feels more like a way of enjoying classical music. And sort of there's this fable, this oddball fable-like story about this child and this slightly sinister stickman, but it feels like it was made by a team of people who wanted to give people a chance to hear classical music, because it was unusual playing a game like this and it not being either rock music or really, really intensely weird Japanese pop music. Some of the music here is quite odd, but it was all very sort of classically themed. I played it loads. I didn't, I quite enjoyed the music. I enjoyed how well the game plays. It does actually feel like a Rock Band game because it's that responsive, and the sort of obviously visually it kind of looks the same. It's clearly a popular game. I was looking around on Google for a bit more information about it, and it's got like 77,000 Facebook likes or something like that, and loads of people chatting about it. So, seems like a really healthy success, which is really nice to see, and completely odd. I mean, I'm not a hater of classical music. I'm not a mad lover of it, but this felt like a unique little excursion that I wasn't expecting, and very enjoyable.
Sounds very cool. Sounds like my cup of tea. I wonder if it's on Android.
It's definitely on Android, but obviously, as it's not app of the week, it's not free.
Of course, yeah.
It's definitely unusual, and yeah, I'd recommend paying for it. I think it's £150, £2 or so.
I'll have a look for sure.
Yeah, if there's a free demo, all the better.
Yeah, a free demo.
Nice.
My number 2 is a moth. It's not a moth. It's The Last of Us Remastered on PlayStation 4. I played this last week, but mainly concentrated on the DLC.
Yep.
What are you laughing?
Was it actually a moth?
Yeah, a moth just flew in my face as I started to speak.
Nice.
So I hit it, and now he's dead.
It's probably the light bulb that went off when you came up with Deemo.
Shit, yes. I can't believe that's what came into your head. The Last of Us Remastered, then, on PlayStation 4. I'll get there eventually. Yeah, last week I concentrated on the excellent DLC Left Behind, but I played more of the main game. And yeah, it's just masterful. It's remasterful. It's you can't really. What can you add? I've spoken about the game on the podcast when it came out in the first place. I've spoken last week about the improvements that the PS4 version makes. It really does look great. You can still see that it's a last-gen game in some cases. I heard it described as like a sort of a PC game from a year ago on the high settings. I can kind of see that comparison. You're picking holes, really, but there are little bits where it probably doesn't look as next-gen as some things do, but the art design just carries it anyway, and the amount of detail on the characters is absolutely amazing, and that's seen nowhere better than the photo mode, which if you've never played The Last of Us, I wouldn't recommend switching on, because you'll ruin the experience for yourself by stopping it every 2 seconds. But if you have played it, you can switch it on in the options, and then a click of left L3 activates photo mode, same type of things you've seen in other games. But allows you to put different filters on, change like film grain settings, obviously move the camera about, change depth of field. You can put a border around it, things like that. And yeah, it's really compelling to zoom right in and see the detail, and you can capture some amazing photos. There's a thread on NeoGAF, which some of the photos on there are amazing, truly fantastic. Some really, really great sort of video game photographers, for want of a better turn of phrase for that type of person, that have captured some amazing images from the game. I've done a few myself. I think they're okay. I'm certainly no expert in that field, but definitely worth tracking down that thread on NeoGAF. Just Google it, NeoGAF, Last of Us photo thread, but assuming you've played the game and you finished it, because obviously it has spoilerific scenes in it. But I'm kind of plodding through the main game, looking forward to kind of getting to the points where it really starts to pick up pace and the story stuff starts to kick in. But you forget how good it is just playing it through again. Like the tiny little incidental pieces of dialogue, stuff that you would never even pick up first time, stuff that maybe doesn't even happen every single time, more emergent stuff rather than cutscene dialogue. I had one bit early on where I got into a fight with Joel, as you do, and it turned into extremely violent extremely quickly, involving a 2x4 and 2 dead people, and then like Ellie's reaction straight away was just like, oh, Jesus Christ. And she almost said it under her breath, and I don't know if that happens every time, or if it was just that time, or it's scripted, or it was just a dice roll or something like that, but it was really nice piece of characterization for her and for what Joel is like. And it's just like she's just watched this guy. She's glad he did it, obviously, because it saved their lives, but fucking hell, like what is this guy? All done with just one syllable, basically. And that's very elegant and skillful writing. And like I said, especially if it came emergently, I'm not too sure if it is a direct part of the script. And stuff like that keeps happening, to be honest. And yeah, just a real treat to be able to play it through again. Like I said last week, a real treat to be able to play it through again like this, with the 60 frames a second, which does make a difference to how the game plays, and looking as best as it could possibly look. A real PS4 essential, I think, quite frankly, regardless of whether you played it or not.
Yeah, I can't. I will pick it up when it eventually drops at some point in the near future. I hope. Are you going to finish it again?
I hope so. There's still a few more weeks, isn't there, until Thingy comes out, Destiny. So this is probably my number one single player game. Well, it's not my number one single player game, because my number one single player game is next. But hopefully it's a long game, but hopefully over time.
Fuck! Now would be the perfect time, but I'm planning on getting Donkey Kong next week, so I need to do that as well. It's just trying to fill this gap before.
That's it. That's a good shout there.
Although I do, there's just not enough fucking time. Okay, my number one damp squib is Titanfall, which I wasn't going to mention, but I've played a heck of a lot over the last 7 days, and it's been a very weird week. I've calmed down a little bit now, and I've put it into perspective, but I was just going to say that the game has just completely fallen from grace with the last patch. I do think that since the last patch and the last update with the new DLC, matchmaking it's not fucked, but we keep having games of 2 players versus 2 and 3 versus 3, and that stuff never happened before last Thursday. Games aren't filling up like they used to. If you're in a game and it's 2 against 5, there'll be that. Chances are it's going to remain the whole game. It just seems, because matchmaking in Titanfall was always perfect. You were almost always in a full game, and if you weren't, one person was gone, and then you checked the next round of Last Titan Standing or something, there was someone there.
Yeah.
It was the perfect matchmaking system, clearly, and just games aren't filling up like they used to. I thought it might be less players, but I have a feeling that maybe the way, because they skew the matchmaking with whether you've got the maps or not, maybe the way that I don't know, maybe it's causing some kind of problems. But the problem is that over the last week, it suddenly felt like everyone who was playing the game, even vaguely casually, had completely left it. Because I played for around 8 hours. Probably a bit more than that over the past 7 days, and I've probably won about 3 or 4 games in total. It was a painful few days. I mean, this has changed in the last 24 hours, because we played last night and we had a really great run.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just me. Every single person I know who plays Titanfall was saying, we've got to stop playing it. This is I mean, we were just losing, dying, nothing. We couldn't do anything right, and we were just. It felt like everybody had abandoned it, and all we were left with people who don't do anything else. But yeah, it's. I think I have put it into. I think we may need a break from it. We've been playing this relentlessly, and it happens with every game. It happened with the last couple of Battlefields. It happened with the last couple of Call of Duties. You get to a point where. That's the other thing. If you're constantly regenerating in Titanfall, you have all these objectives to fulfill. So you're getting kills with specific weapons that you don't like, and you're trying to do this. And I noticed that I wasn't using burn cards. I was constantly, because what I've got to do at my constant level is drop Titans on things.
Right.
So I wasn't spawning in Titans. I was running around looking for something to drop a Titan, and I was often dying in the process. So I was playing stupidly, and it was my own fault. Again, that's another aspect that I think has not helped. Over the past week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been we were at a point on Wednesday where we all said we have to find another game and just completely leave this alone now because it's dead. But it clearly isn't. I think we were all playing stupidly, and although I do think the matchmaking may need a little bit of work now because it's not.
Certainly I played during that period with you as well. It's not on my list this week, but it probably would be my number one. And that one night that I played with you was I was like, I don't really want to play a game that's going to be like this because I couldn't compete. I just couldn't compete, and that's not, you don't want to spend your evening, the rare evening you get to sit around playing a video game, just getting smashed by. You get angry with the people, but they're just people that just happen to be good at the game, and they might use questionable tactics, but that's up to them, really. We're speaking about it rationally, but in the moment, it's kind of hard to be rational when you're just getting stomped over and over and over again. Yeah,
but that's the thing. It was for us. It was days because every time we turned it on and had another go, it was the same situation. People that didn't appear to be. I mean, you do see a lot of rank 10, regenerate 10 for the highest rank. They're everywhere. But in addition to those people, there's people who you don't expect to get completely and utterly smashed by. But like I said, I think part of it is that we're all dicking around trying to do silly things. But we have these objectives. Incidentally, in order to regenerate, I had to drop 50 Titans on enemies. And I have to say that system is one of the most obnoxious things. I mean, because there's nothing obnoxious about Titanfall. There's nothing sneaky or snide about it. But I have to run around dropping Titans on things, and if you don't want to go through the hassle of taking the blind luck that you're going to drop it on something like a pilot or a Titan, you go after grunts and spectres and stuff.
Yeah. And
I've got that perk on where I drop my Titan faster, and 9 times out of 10, you're looking at a grunt stand there in the street, not moving. The second you tap that button to drop the Titan, he runs off. And I'm like, that's so unbelievably irritating. That's like when somebody is frozen and then you put the rescue on their head with the sniper rifle and then they just start moving. That's not a gameplay system. I can't do anything about that. That's just really snide. So getting these 50 kills has been irritating, and I've died in the process because, So anyway, Titanfall, we were worried that it was going to be done, but I think it's fine. Also, another thing that happened is I almost had a heart attack because I got the achievement, which is called, I killed them all, which seems like an achievement that I would never get, and it seems like one of the most impossible achievements to ever exist in a game, whereby you have to kill the entire team when they're trying to escape on their ship, all 6 yourself, and I did it because I had map hack on, and I killed the last guy as the camera was almost black, having faded out, and I just got it, and it was a weird feeling because I thought I was going to die. But, yeah, Titanfall, it was. I thought I was going to be talking about never playing it again, but I've calmed down now, and things have gotten decent again. I don't know. It's been a weird week for Titanfall, really.
I had one game today, a sneaky lunchtime game, and it was absolutely fine. Match made me nicely up. The enemies were of my level, so yeah, it just felt like norms. So hopefully it was just a brief little thing.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay then, my number one is Super Mario 3D World, of all things, on Wii U. Like I said last week, not a hugely interesting story, but I moved my Wii U into the other room, the lounge, and that has meant that I've been able to play a lot more Wii U games. And this has coincided with my 3-year-old suddenly being obsessed with Mario and demanding that I play Mario Kart relentlessly, which isn't on my list this week, but I played a lot of Mario Kart, especially last weekend. And so I said, why don't I get this game? And showed it to him, showed a video of him, and he was like, yeah, get the cat game. So I did, and I mean, what can you say? It's amazing, obviously. Yeah, you've spoken about it. Everybody's spoken about it. It's the sort of natural extension of the 3DS game, which was excellent in its own right, but is basically better in every single possible conceivable way. The ideas are better, the gameplay is better, the style is better. Obviously, it looks nicer. I'm now in the sort of halfway through the third world, I think. So done all the levels up to that point, and couldn't pick a fault. It's been quite easy so far, but in a pleasant way, especially after playing Scram Kitty a lot the night before. And it's kind of tough. I mean, it's almost so flawlessly good. The music, everything about it. The fact you can choose different characters. I haven't played any co-op, but the controls. I mean, what can you say? It's an essential piece of software. I'm very, very glad that I have got round to playing it. I knew I always wanted to, but the Wii U was gathering dust, sat in my office, so this has been a perfect set of circumstances to move it in there. And suddenly I've got playing regularly 2 games in this and Mario Kart that are just absolutely marvellous, and completely justified the console, regardless of any work commitments that I've had on it. Just as from a gamer point of view, 2 games have basically completely justified the purchase of that console, quite frankly. I can't wait for this game to start getting better, harder, more interesting. I've already seen a bunch of cool ideas. Thankfully, I'd forgotten a lot of what I'd seen in trailers, so a lot of it is new. Even subtle stuff like Goombas, all sitting on top of each other with a star in the middle of them. It's just a funny sight after seeing Goombas since the fucking 80s. I don't know, finding sneaky little pipes around things. My kid freaks out every time he sees pipes. Pipe, got a pipe. So, I don't know, that kind of adds to everything. He gets kind of visibly slightly upset every time Mario falls down a hole. So I don't know whether that's disturbing him. It's going to scar him for life, but he seems all right. He always says the same thing. Sometimes you have to try again. And so, marvelous stuff. What a treat that it exists, and it looks utterly beautiful as well. Much like Mario Kart and Donkey Kong, the Wii U is underpowered compared to the other consoles, but it matters not a shit when the games look like that.
3D World is really, truly amazing, amazingly consistent, and it does get better, and it does get taxing, and some of the ideas in it, especially later on, are absolutely tremendous. Have you done the perspective puzzles when you're the little workman toad?
Yeah, they're making the whole game with that now, aren't they?
Oh, so I think I heard something.
Yeah, that's out. It's out early next year, I think. My kid Elliot doesn't like them. He finds them boring. He's like, Toad can't jump. Go back. So yeah, so I like them though. I think they're excellent little levels, especially as they seem to be optional. But I don't know. I'll do them on my own, I guess. Yeah,
they're really hard later on as well.
Yeah, I bet.
In a good way. But yeah, that's good. Okay, well that's us done. Thank you, as usual. Thank you very much for listening. We will be back next week. We're on Twitter at John Denton, at Chet Roivas, and at Chet and Johns. We're also on YouTube. Check out our YouTube channel. We try and put at least a thing a day out if possible, but we try and keep it sort of fairly well stocked, just with stuff. Also, John mentioned it last week. We're going to try and mention it as rarely as possible. But if you haven't left us a review, if you listen via iTunes and you haven't left us a review, it genuinely helps. How iTunes is just in the top 40 podcasts. Include the original JoyPod feed that has no podcasts on it, and something by someone called Woody's Gamer Tag. It's a podcast that hasn't been live since 2008 or something, and it's always in the top 20. Whenever we get a review, we go up from 150, which is where we normally float around, into normally the top 30, just for a couple of days, which just means we get a little bit more exposure, and it is helpful. So if you haven't done that, we would appreciate that, but we don't want to mention it every week, so we're not going to do that. But yeah, anyway, thank you very much for listening. We will be back next week.
Big time. Laters.
Bye.
Is that a good idea right where we're at? Okay, now you've got fire coming out of your engine. Looks like it's falling.
sure your friend will be missing this tonight. It's light on the reading, but it's got some interesting photos.
Now, Ellie, that ain't for kids.
Whoa! How the hell would he even walk around with that thing?
Get rid of that.
Look, hold your horses. I want to see what all the fuss is about. Oh, why are these all stuck together? I'm just fucking with you. Bye-bye, dude.